Rosa Parks was born on February 4th, 1913, in Tuskegee, Alabama. Her dad, James McCauley, was a carpenter, and her mom, Leona McCauley, was a teacher. She had one younger brother, Sylvester. Shortly after Sylvester was born, Rosa's parents separated. When she was 2, they moved to their grandparents' farm in Pine Level, Alabama. At 11 years old, she attended the Montgomery Industrial School for Girls, a private school. Before that, she had been homeschooled by her mother. Rosa began laboratory school, but did not finish because she had to care for her ailing grandmother. Her family had little to no civil rights, which made it very hard for them to do certain things. She can remember her grandfather standing on the porch with a gun, watching the Ku Klux Klan march by on the streets. Back then, there was a lot of discrimination against people of color. For example, because of the Jim Crow laws, it was illegal to attend the same schools or even drink from the same water fountains as white people. This troubled Rosa at a young age. She thought it was unfair how people of color were treated so differently. She would be forced to walk to school when all the white kids got to ride on the school bus. Rosa Parks knew something had to be done about this. What she didn't know was that she would be the one to spark the change that needed to happen so badly. After Rosa dropped out of high school at 16, in the very beginning of 11th grade, she married a man named Raymond Parks at the age of 19 in 1932. Raymond worked as a barber and was also a longtime member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP. A year after this, Rosa earned her high school diploma. Rosa later worked as a seamstress. The city that she lived in was governed by Jim Crow laws, which meant that there was a lot of segregation. People of color were treated terribly. Even though Raymond tried to talk her out of it, for her safety, she still ended up joining the Montgomery chapter of the NAACP and became the chapter secretary. At the time, she was working with the chapter president, Edgar Daniel Nixon, who was a known advocate for the black people who wanted to vote. She registered to vote, but was denied twice because of her skin color. In 1949, Rosa started to advise the local NAACP Youth Council. This meant she guided young members of the NAACP to challenge the Jim Crow system. One way they did this was by checking out books from the white-only libraries. Many people think Rosa was super influential because of what she did to spark the bus boycott, and that's true, but what people don't know is how much work and other things she did before that to help with colored desegregation.
Rosa Parks was an amazing person and did all these things I said earlier, but what she's most famous for and that everyone knows her by is her inspirational experience on December 1st, 1955 that sparked the Montgomery bus boycott. On this day, Rosa was 42 years old and was coming home from her work on the public bus. Back then, because of segregation, colored people were forced to sit in the back of the bus and if asked, get up and give their seat to a white person. At a certain point in the bus ride, a white man entered the bus, making Rosa and 3 other colored people give up their seats. While the other people obeyed, Rosa refused to give up her seat. Eventually, police officers came and placed Rosa in custody. Looking back on that day, Rosa states, "I was not tired physically. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in." Rosa was later bailed out of jail, and word of her arrest spread quickly throughout the city. After this, Nixon and Rosa came up with the idea for the colored people in Montgomery to boycott the buses on Monday, December 5th. Thousands of flyers were passed out to the black community explaining the plan. The boycott ended on December 20th after the Supreme Court decided that bus segregation was unconstitutional on November 13th, 1956. Because of this, Rosa was forever known as the mother of the civil rights movement. In Parks' later life, she moved to Detroit. Sadly, her husband, brother, and mother all died of cancer between 1977 and 1979. Rosa was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, which is the highest honor of the United States. 6 years later, on October 24, 2005, she died at 92. She was the first woman to ever be buried in honor at the U.S. Capitol. Something I learned during this project was that any small act can make a huge difference. I picked Rosa Parks because I think she showed the world that any person with any background has the power to stand up for what they think is right, and your opinion can make a bigger difference than you think. With this information and learning from this project, I'll be sure to teach other people what happened and show them that they can make just as big as a difference as Rosa Parks did on December 1st, 1955.